60 days to go until the American people vote and decide who the 47th president of the United States will be. This is the warning. And guess what? Something incredible happened yesterday. Donald Trump admitted he lost. Let's watch the incredibleness.
I was told if I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win. And I got millions of more votes than that and lost by a whisker.
This is so important because it ends for all time the debate about whether Trump is a nutcase who can't process information, a delusionist who can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality, or a seditionist and a faithless president who knew exactly what he was doing. He knew he lost. I knew he lost on election night. Everybody who's a practitioner at a high level of presidential politics knew the outcome. What Donald Trump did was try to overthrow the government of the United States. The only oath in the Constitution is the presidential oath. Every president has taken the same one. John Adams from George Washington, Thomas Jefferson from John Adams, Franklin Roosevelt, John Kennedy, Ronald Reagan. They've all taken it, and it binds them to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Trump tried to burn it down. Now, there's another story that's developing. Trump on a daily basis is attacking America's Jews. He's saying, if you're not with me, you're a bad Jew. Now, for a lot of Jews, they look at Trump and they see someone who sat down with a Nazi for dinner at Mar-a-Lago. Now, I'm going to do something I haven't done before, which I'm going to play you a clip of a Nazi, an upset Nazi named Nick Fuentes. And do you know what? The Nazi has a point about Trump's insanity and lies.
So why did we do Stop the Steal? Why did anyone go to January 6th? Why is anyone sitting in jail? Why did anything bad happen to anybody? Why did everyone get censored? Why is everything bad that has happened to the people that are involved, why did that need to happen if you're just going to walk it all back and say, oh, I lost? Well, it would have been good to know that.
Now, he's a fool and he's evil. And so all of the bad things that have happened to him are well-deserved. Speaking of thugs, a good thing has finally happened within the American news media. An American media outlet, NPR, dared to name the Trump thugs who assaulted an Arlington National Cemetery employee and desecrated the nation's most hallowed ground. Here they are. Here are their names. America should know. You don't need to have been Bob Woodward or Carl Bernstein or Detective Benson or Tutuola to figure out who these two Trump thugs were. Again, here is their pictures. Here are their names. Everybody knew. Now, according to the NPR story, when they started to report it, when they started to call around, guess what? They got a ring, a preface to a knock on the door in the night. The ring was from spokes thug Stephen Chung, who slandered the cemetery employee as mentally ill and promised to release footage demonstrating that it was the cemetery employee who was at fault in the assault that occurred. Of course, no footage has been released. No footage will ever be released because Stephen Chung is a fascist liar who described the situation exactly in the opposite of how it went down. But Stephen Chung called the NPR reporter and he said, I hear you're looking around. I hear you're calling around. It's intimidation. And it certainly worked on the New York Times. Nobody there dared to report the names because they were intimidated that their access would be reduced. And that is exactly why Joe Scarborough is correct and exactly why I have pointed out repeatedly about the inherent bias that comes from normalizing the insanity. Now, we have an American media that demands policy specifics from the Democratic nominee, Vice President Harris, who talks about specifics all the time. When the media demands that the Democratic candidate be specific, it stands to reason that they're making a judgment on the basis of an imbalance. For example, it must be the case, right, that it's the Republican candidate who is loading up the American brain with all manner of great detail about their policies, right? Like this from Trump's Economic Club speech. Watch some of the detailed policy emanating from the super genius, the Donald.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
Now, he wants to do for the economy what he did for his businesses.
I took care of our economy like I would take care of my own company.
Take it from somebody from New Jersey. It's tough to go bankrupt running a casino in Atlantic City, but the Donald figured out how to do it multiple times. He wants to run the economy like his company. It's exactly what happened. He spent more money than any other president in American history, rang up more debt than any president in history. The most fiscally irresponsible president the country has ever had. But he has had a phalanx of liars working really hard for him. Rich Lowry in the New York Times, the executive editor of the National Review, talking about Donald Trump should run on character against Kamala Harris. Tucker Carlson sitting down with a neo-Nazi telling young people in this country the great villain of the Second World War is Winston Churchill. Matt K. Lewis, here he is with Alex Jones and Roger Stone. And this was a guy whose garbage was printed for years by the Daily Beast. All of these people, plus the ones now implicated in a scheme where they were fronts for Russian propaganda, should make you sick. These faithless people, these liars for money, for power. These people have betrayed their country for power's sake, but more than that, for an ideology that has replaced in their hearts patriotism. They're fascists, all of them. And all of them have served the cause of Donald Trump. And so then we come down today to a great final question. We have another school shooting in America, and it's just a preface until the next one. The people that we elect to office in America may have bad ideas. They may have good ideas. Some of them may have no ideas. Ideally, we want them to have good ideas, wisdom, judgment, the capacity as human beings to tolerate dissent, to sit down with somebody they disagree with on one issue and find common ground on another. But the last thing you want is a weirdo and a quitter. And J.D. Vance is a quitter. We have a violence epidemic in this country that we have to end. And it will not involve breaching the Second Amendment and confiscating the nation's 300 million guns. But we have a crazy person and a powerful weapon problem. We have a confluence of those two factors coming together and merging at the schoolhouse door that we have to fix as a society. And the Republican candidate, the fascist candidate for vice president, says all of this is just a fact of life.
What is going to solve this problem, and I really do believe this, is look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life.
This wasn't a fact of life when I was in high school or college. This became a fact of life when my kids were in high school, and I wanted to stop. And I want candidates, no matter what they think about guns, who understand the right answer to this is not A, it's the facts of life, which was a mediocre TV show from the 1980s. So we have somebody who says mass shootings in school are a fact of life, who wants to be peering into every American woman's vagina when her legs are in the gynecological stirrups. It's weird. It's off the wall, dare I say. A fascist movement under the improbable banner of Donald Trump has taken root in America. And 60 days from now, we get to snuff it out at the ballot box and to say no. We don't want any of this. The weirdness, the strangeness, the malice, the violence, and the insanity, and the weapons-grade idiocy. Again, the Nazi, Nick Fuentes, he had it right today. Donald Trump knew he lost. His ego couldn't handle it. He wants to do for you what he did for the 1,600 super suckers and losers sitting in federal prison. He'll wreck the country. He'll wreck the future. And there's a good chance he'll wreck your family if he gets the chance. Don't give it to him. That's the warning today. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.